There are a lot of reasons why people hate influencers, but the one that I hear the most is that people are just sick and tired of people overhyping products that are probably average at best, and that so many people seem to be lying just to make money. Like, how many game changers can really exist in a single product category? But I don't think it's that black and white, because on one hand, we have influencers being accused of being dishonest, while on the other hand, we have Marques Brownlee, MKBHD, one of, if not the biggest YouTubers in the tech space, getting criticized for making an honest, albeit negative review, or two, and then the news exploding and Twitter erupting in discourse on whether or not it is ethical for him to do so as someone with so much influence. Which really makes me question what the people want to begin with. And I do recognize that those are two extremes, but I want to talk about the messy middle and really try to figure out what's going on. If you are new here, hi, my name is Kea and I am a full-time influencer in the natural hair beauty lifestyle space. But here on Creating with Kea, I share the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a creator and teach people how to navigate this very unorthodox career for themselves. Which might seem weird, as someone alluded to in this comment on my video about how influencing is dying, because I get it. If I think this space is so messed up, why don't I just quit? And why on earth would I encourage anybody else to become an influencer or a content creator themselves? But I make videos like these in addition to my how to be a content creator and how to get brand deals content, because I think no matter your job, it is so important to be aware and critical of your industry. And if we are, I think it just encourages us to strive to make our spaces better for everyone. So today I want to do a deep dive into the topic of honesty in the influencer economy, exploring some of the following questions and more. What motivates creators to be dishonest? If everyone hates disingenuous creators so much, why are so many still winning? What happens when creators actually are honest? And of course, how can you, if you are a creator watching this, navigate all of this mess? First, we are useless if we are not honest. Marques Brownlee just made a response video addressing all of the drama surrounding his reviews, which all started when he reviewed an electric car. He said he didn't like it, and a lot of people have blamed him for this company's stock declining. And he pushed back by really emphasizing the purpose of a review.
The thing about reviews is if they're not honest, then they're basically useless.
If a review isn't honest, literally it's just noise. It's just taking up space. Who are you benefiting there? You're not helping the audience. You're not helping the company, because if the product is bad anyways, like, people are gonna find it out for themselves. It might help a brand short term because they're gonna get those initial sales, but like, it's just useless. And when he said that, I immediately thought about how that concept could be applied to the influencer space as a whole. If influencers are not honest, I personally think we are useless. We're occupying people's feeds, demanding their attention for what? It really made me think back to how influencers really gained their success originally. It was usually either by being just so relatable and authentic that people trusted your recommendations, or it was that you were actively and critically reviewing products. It doesn't matter if it was makeup, skincare products, or clothing. People were going out and spending their own money in order to make content that gave viewers the full story, to be able to make an informed decision on things. It's funny because I already had the notes for this video when I came across a TikTok basically saying this exact same thing. Like, where did the beauty influencers of 2016 go, where they were giving you 12-hour wear tests? They were swatching every single color on their arm. They seemed really unafraid to tell you how much they hated something. So naturally, they really gained their audience's trust. Even when I look to my own journey, back in the day when I started my blog, I was purchasing products to review them and was very careful to always include a pros section, a cons section, and like, if this product didn't work for me, who I thought it would be ideal for. That was like part of the game. That was part of creating content on the internet, or at least content that was centered around products. Editing Kea here, you're probably going to hear a lot from me because I just really want to do my best to add as much nuance here as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, because we still did have a huge problem with overconsumption back in the glory days of influencing. Influencers were still blamed for making us feel like we needed 20 different eyeshadow palettes. But I would still argue that people were able to make and encouraged to make more informed decisions. We were able to see how things worked on different skin tones and skin types in order to figure out if it would really work for us. But now, as we scroll through our feeds, it seems like every video is a creator talking, or sometimes yelling at you, about how a product is amazing. They're gasping. This thing's gonna change your life. It's a game changer. Like, what did I do without this? And people are getting fed up because it just feels dishonest. Like, every product can't be that amazing. And people are pretty quick to call it out. Like, why are you gasping? Like, this is the first time you've ever touched an eyeliner. There's not that much innovation in the makeup space. And I'm not just talking about makeup creators here, because you see this type of behavior in every niche. Some I just think more so than others. And the reality is, as a consumer, if somebody loves everything, they're not critical of anything, why on earth would you believe them when you are making a purchasing decision? Like, where's the credibility? Creating content like this that is overly positive and complimentary is incredibly superficial and useless to an audience. But the thing is, while some creators are definitely intentionally being over the top, I don't think that's the only reason we're seeing overly positive reviews flood the internet. So what's driving this wave of content that at best is just simply overly complimentary, albeit still honest, and at worst is people just straight up lying? These reasons are gonna start out pretty innocent, but then we're gonna dial up how iffy the motivation is as we go. First, I think there's a little bit of autopilot at play. I think we're just all so used to scrolling through our feeds and seeing the same type of content that when we pick up a product we genuinely like, we are programmed to talk about it in the same way. Especially for creators who are just entering this space, when you're looking at all of the inspiration and the people who are successfully doing this, you naturally are trying to emulate their content. And likely you are very excited about the product you're coming online to talk about. And because nuanced, balanced, critical reviews aren't something you're seeing all the time, it wouldn't even cross your mind to do one. The second, I think, is logistics, and it's kind of a trap that I think a lot of full-time creators, myself included, fall into, where we're so busy, there's so many pieces of content we could be creating at a single moment, and we're more inclined and motivated to highlight a product that we love over something that we hate. Doing thorough reviews is a huge time commitment, and if you don't have the products, you have to go buy them. But unless you're like a super big creator making tons and tons of money, you're unlikely to buy something that you think you're going to hate. I was DMing back and forth with a friend about this, and she said when she doesn't like a product she bought, she just goes and returns it right away. She's not gonna spend the time to use more of it, film the process, document and edit all of it, especially if she could be using that time to create content about something she loved. The next is keeping up with the algorithms, because as much as people say they hate this over-sensationalized content, the algorithms seem to say otherwise. The reality is that those extravagant claims and facial expressions do stop the scroll. When somebody says that a product is going to solve all of your problems, you're likely going to be curious enough to at least watch it, even if you're a skeptic about how truthful the person is being. And that watch signals to the algorithm that the content is good, and it's going to push it out to more and more people, thus rewarding the person for creating that style of content. The reality is a lot of these more quiet, honest, thorough creators are not getting pushed out by the algorithms. They're not rewarded in this hyper-competitive space because there's nothing hooky about their content if they are giving a well-balanced review. So naturally, a lot of creators who want to get those eyeballs on their content are going to do what they can to feed the algorithm. And I do think this algorithm topic is really specific to social media, TikTok and Instagram in particular, where everything does seem to thrive on extremes, whether positive or negative. I find on YouTube there is much more space for nuance, but we do often see this like over-sensationalized clickbait show up in the titles and thumbnails, which is partly what MKBHD was being criticized for here, which opens up a whole other debate on whether or not it is unethical to use a super negative or super positive title if the video actually backs up the claim. And the final reason, which I think is what creators are the most called out for, is that they are protecting their income and they don't want to jeopardize brand relationships. I think there is this very real concern with creators that if they talk negatively about a product or about a brand, even if it is in a constructive, well-balanced manner, that they will be ruining their chance to get on a PR list or potentially work with a brand. And this actually came up in one of Colin and Samir's recent videos where they talked about the whole Marques Brownlee situation, where it was asked,
is he the only tech reviewer who has enough power to be honest? I think there's a lot of up and coming creators who, are looking for access with some of these tech CEOs, some of these companies, and he's not as worried about that.
I don't know how well-founded that fear actually is and whether or not brands are blacklisting you for critiquing their products or not, but it does make sense that if they had to choose between two different creators to work with, are they going to work with the person who organically made content saying that this product changed their life, or are they going to hire the person who did the balanced pros and cons review? I would hope that they would do the person who did the review, but I don't think that's realistic. And I do want to give a counterpoint to the idea that Marques is now big enough and successful enough to be the most honest person in the room. Because while a lot of us would assume that the larger a creator gets, the more opinionated and truthful they are allowed to be, I don't actually think that's the case. I think it's less dependent on your size and more dependent on where your income is coming from. Brand deals make up the majority of most influencers' income. And the bigger you get, the more you might feel like your life is owned by them, making you less inclined to bite the hand that feeds you. Marques Brownlee has said in interviews that AdSense actually makes up a huge amount of their income, and that him and his team take on brand deals really, really selectively and honestly rarely, making him more independent and therefore free. But regardless of where any of us are getting our money from, I do want to emphasize that I am explaining versus excusing. As creators, our loyalty and priority needs to be to our audience. I actually have a number 5 on this list, and I can't believe I forgot to add it in. It's that influencers are being dishonest or, at best leaving out the bad reviews, not just for the potential to work with brands or getting access to lists and events. It's that they're actually doing it for money. Either they are overhyping or straight up lying in order to push their affiliate links, or that they are straight up being paid by brands to do so. On one hand, the brand deal conversation is a bit tricky because I've signed many contracts that have me confirm that I am sharing my honest opinion with my audience, that I'm not falsifying any claims. But brand deals are still very much ads. There are talking points, there are key features that the brand wants us to mention to our audience. When we think about ads we consume on TV, probably the only category that is going to give us a more balanced look at the product is something in the pharmaceutical space, where they have to lay out all of the potential side effects for us. And it's a real question I'm trying to navigate is it dishonest if, I love this foundation, I'm not paid to use this or talk about it, but if I love it and I get the opportunity to work with Urban Decay and talk about it with my audience more, talking about all of the features I love and maybe using it to do a makeup look. But on the other side, I have absolutely heard creators behind closed doors acknowledge taking brand deals for products that they would not use in their regular routine. But the general sentiment in the community is that you gotta do what you gotta do to secure the bag. We all got bills to pay. And is that an iffy thing? Ooh. I don't know. Now, I do want to bring it full circle to the Marques Brownlee situation. People aren't actually that open to negative reviews, or at least as much as they say they are. I noticed this recently as I'm currently doing a 15-day challenge over on my lifestyle page, where for 15 days straight, I'm trying to share thoughts on PR products I've been sent by brands. First of all, it's been really fun and rewarding to intentionally bring back that nuance into my content, even though they're not really getting the views, the algorithm's not really pushing it out, but the people it is reaching, it is resonating with them. That was until I shared my review on the Dyson Airwrap. It's funny, before I even reviewed the product, before I had even tested it, taken it out of the box, I had actually said to my husband that I think people are going to come for me because I am unlikely to have the expected desired result with my natural hair texture, people are probably going to come and say I am using it wrong. And that is exactly what happened. Instead of taking it as a demonstration of how the product worked with my particular hair type and hair texture, people were very quick to tell me I was using it wrong. And you know what? I gave them a fair shot too, and I tried it the way they told me to, and it was worse. And the thing was, it wasn't even a negative review. I actually had said that I liked the product. It just didn't get my hair as straight as it seemed to advertise it would. So here's some things I've noticed about less than positive reviews. People will fight you and other people in the comments more on a bad review of something than a good one, even if they haven't tried the products for themselves. It's actually a very interesting phenomena. And this is a phenomena I've seen in the comment section of any negative review on the internet right now. Somebody says they didn't like a foundation. They didn't apply it the right way. Somebody didn't like a book. They missed the point and didn't take the time to really understand what they were reading. They didn't like a mic. They weren't using it properly. And it goes on and on and on. And I think part of what drives this is that people are just so used to consuming all of this hyper positive content that is potentially being created by creators with an ulterior motive of like making money or getting in the good books with the brand, that when they see content that isn't super favorable, it counters all of the assumptions and biases they built up regarding said product. And honestly, if you're a creator, why would you want to go out of your way to make content that you know is going to increase the likelihood of you fighting with strangers in the comment section? There's something to be said about protecting your peace. Another thing that I think is driving this like defensiveness is the parasocial relationship that they might have built up with a creator who has recommended it. I think that there is a sense of loyalty there. And so when I think they hear another creator talk negatively about a product, instead of hearing this didn't work for me, they hear this other creator who said they loved it is lying. And those aren't the same thing. And another thing I didn't think about until I saw Jackie Ina's stitched response to that TikTok talking about how great the 2016 beauty influencers were, was that there are a lot of brand stans saying that even back then, in 2016, if you were critical about a product, there would be people in your comment section tearing your review apart in what seems like defense of the brand. People who love this brand and somehow feel personally attacked that you as the creator did not like it. We also look at a lot of the criticism of Marquez's review of the Fisker car and the Humane AI pin. And a lot of people were saying that he wasn't thinking about the impact this review would have on all of the people who worked at the company if it made these companies go bankrupt. It wasn't kind when so many people had worked so hard on a product to bring it to fruition. And though most influencers don't have that type of influence to be criticized on that scale, we do still get that sort of flavor of comments, especially if the person behind the brand is very present online. And again, people have formed this sort of parasocial relationship with them. Which brings me to the question, where do the brands fit into all of this? After I posted that influencing is dying video, I had somebody that I had once worked with on the brand side reach out to me to just further discuss and explore the influencer brand dynamics. And she had actually said something that stuck with me. It was that she saw an article recently talking about how brands have to be okay with not having all 5-star reviews on their website. You need to be okay with that balanced feedback in order to paint the bigger picture of who your product is for and who it's going to work on. And overall recognize that having only 5 stars in your website looks a little bit suspicious and makes people less likely to trust the reviews. And so this concept naturally extends to influencer marketing. I think brands need to learn to be okay with having balanced reviews out there. They should be actively choosing to lift up the voices who are taking the time to build out that nuance. And I think that ties really nicely into having less restrictive briefs with the creators you do work with. And I know that there's probably a lot of like legal things going on behind the scenes, because I have been told before by brands that legal had to review the brief before sending it to me. I just think it would be really nice if brands empowered creators to make more balanced pieces of content. But when we stop and think about it, Like, is that ever going to happen? Because marketing has always been about selling these promises, these ideal lifestyles, these solutions to your problems. I think even though it's like the ethical choice, it's not probably what's going to get them money. Again, it's not the type of content that gets those crazy views. But I do think with where we are at right now in the creator economy, where there's just this pervasive distrust of influencers, I think it's something that would help benefit everyone in the long run. I do also encourage brands to explore more long-term partnerships with creators, because I think a lot of these one and dones are, again, harming the overall distrust. Because if a creator does a paid partnership talking about a product that supposedly changed their life, but you never hear about it ever again, then it looks a little suspicious. People are gonna think you're not actually using that product, even if you honestly might be. Like for myself, I've definitely done hair care brand deals that like I still use those products to this day. They're my top products. But I think it just goes back to that time commitment where it's like, okay, I already made a video showing my entire wash day using this product. Why would I film that again when I could be creating content about something else that's sitting on my shelf? Whereas if I was doing a long-term partnership with them, I would be a bit more incentivized to film my wash days that showcase that I'm using this product again and again and again. Really showcasing like the different use cases for it maybe and how it authentically fits into my daily life and routine. And I don't think just because something is paid that it is inauthentic. It just again incentivizes me to document my everyday life a bit more. And so some final advice for content creators. First, I will say, look at your content critically. It's something I did recently, and I definitely saw that I was falling in that sort of trap of like only talking about things that I loved. And from there, I made a game plan to actively review things that I've tried. Again, that's where my like 15-day of PR challenge came in. Sprinkle in more nuanced reviews wherever you can, and know that while it might not get you tons of views and reach, it does a lot to build up a more genuine relationship with your audience. It's funny, after starting my little PR challenge, I was really taken aback by a lot of the comments I received from people that I haven't seen comment on my stuff in a while. People who felt like the honesty and transparency was really refreshing on their feed. The next is tough, but do not be afraid of missing out on opportunities, because I feel like it's really short-sighted. Like, yes, when I made my little Dyson review, was I a little worried that they were gonna hate me, or that the PR agency that was responsible for sending it to me was never gonna send me anything again? Yeah, absolutely. But the reality is, if really honestly kindly and gently sharing my opinion online caused somebody to not want to work with me when my whole job is technically supposed to be being honest online with my audience, then it's somebody I wasn't supposed to work with anyways. I do also want to circle back to the brand deal, talking about briefs, because creators, we have a lot more freedom and creativity than we think. I have never been asked by a brand to say that something changed my life. I've never been asked to say that I am obsessed with something. Let's challenge ourselves to think about how we can present a product more creatively to our audience, how we can actually showcase how it shows up in our day-to-day life, versus just yelling at the audience saying like, here's a product, I'm obsessed with it, hitting all the talking points, this is why you need it, done. I also want to add how important it is to have multiple income streams as a creator. Leaning into a blogging YouTube channel can actually help a lot with that. You can make money through AdSense, so be actually compensated for your review in general, regardless of how negative or positive it swings. You can explore merchandise, digital products, courses, even though that's a whole other video worth of controversy. But overall, I think it's really important to strive to make ourselves less reliant on brand deals, because I think it'll just encourage us to be even more unbiased in what we're producing. And finally, explore some other platforms, some long-term evergreen search-based platforms. Social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok, are content-driven platforms. We don't really have a lot of say in what we are engaging with. It's just being fed to us as we doom scroll our feeds. Whereas something like a blog or Pinterest or YouTube provides a bit of a different dynamic, because people are often actively searching for specific content, specific solutions to their problems, for specific reviews. And these places by nature allow you to just be more nuanced, provide more information, explore all of the pros and cons of something in a space where it's likely to be better received and more helpful to your audience. And if the idea of using Pinterest is a bit new to you, definitely watch this next. Thanks for watching, and until next time.